Nick Grimm with that report. There's been a significant increase in a range of violent crimes across Queensland. That's according to new figures from the state's public prosecutor. The Director of Public Prosecution's latest annual report shows there were 340 homicide charges in the 2022-23 financial year. That's up 21% from the previous 12 months. The number of sexual offences also rose by 26% over the same period. The Queensland government has been under pressure to do more in tackling youth crime in recent months, while in New South Wales, the state government has this week announced tougher bail laws as part of a crackdown. Dr Terry Goldsworthy is an associate professor in criminology at Bond University in Queensland and a former detective. He joins us now. Doctor, are you surprised to hear that there's been a rise in murder charges and sexual offences across Queensland?
No, not really. I mean, if you look at crime overall in Queensland, it's been increasing for the last 2 or 3 years, the crime rate. Last year in 2023, we had the highest crime rate that we've seen for 20 years. So there's a whole range of offence categories that have increased over that period. So I'm not overly surprised that those particular categories you mentioned have been flagged by the prosecutors as problematic.
More broadly, what's been the long-term trend on crime rates across Queensland?
Look, if you go back, Don Weatherburn is a very well-known criminologist who ran the Bureau of Crime Stats in New South Wales, and he wrote a book about this. And over the last 20 or so years, crime has gone down in Australia. What we've seen in the recent last 2 years, perhaps guess you could say, is there's been an uptick in crime. And, we're seeing crime increase in New South Wales across a number of categories. If you have a look at Victoria, they've increased about 5% in their crime rate over the last year, and Queensland has had about 11% increase in the crime rate in the last 12-month period. So, you are seeing this broad uptick. Whether it's going to be a long-term trend will be another matter, but certainly in the last 2 years it would be accurate, I think, to say that there has been an increase in crime broadly across Australia.
We've seen data this week showing a growing gap in the rates of crime between regional New South Wales and Sydney. Is there a similar trend playing out in Queensland?
Yeah, look, I have seen those figures from New South Wales. Queensland, I haven't had a look into it. They don't report it and break it up as distinctly as New South Wales does with Boxar there. But, I suspect we would probably be similar trends. But we have seen for some time up here problematic areas in regional centres such as Townsville, for instance, where the crime has been in the media extensively. So, there are those pockets around the state which seem to be hotspots, if you could put it that way.
It is a state election year in Queensland, and there will also be 2 by-elections this weekend. How big of an issue is crime for voters?
Look, I think crime is up there with cost of living. So many people have been affected by it or seen people who have been affected by it. We've had a lot of media focus on it. And the interesting thing is that, often it's the case that perceptions of crime don't match reality. I think we're at a stage now where the perceptions are reflective of what's occurring in the community, and we've seen a number of instances where victims groups have now become very vocal and gone and sought audience with the government, etc., things like that. You really only see those kind of groups galvanising and mobilising when there's concern, deep concern in the community that crime isn't being addressed adequately.
Appreciate your insight, Dr Terry Goldsworthy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr Terry Goldsworthy, an associate professor in criminology at Bond University in Queensland and a former detective. You are listening to ABC News Radio. A quick